There has been a lot of talk about the future of Gautam Gambhir as India's head coach, especially in Test cricket. Whilst there may be people who disagree with even his methodology in ODI and T20 cricket, the fact of the matter is that he's gotten success in both white ball formats. He had won both the Asia Cup as well as the ICC Champions Trophy in 2025. So even if you may have a problem with what it is that he's doing, there's still denying the fact that it's actually working. However, the same can't be said about his record in Test cricket. And now we're getting to hear from reports doing the rounds that apparently after the South Africa whitewash, well, there was actually some moves made that led to or could have led to a change in India's red ball head coach. Of course, it didn't actually materialize, but if you're wondering why it is that such a thing was happening in the first place, well, then a quick look at Gambhir's record makes it pretty easy to understand why. Because Gambhir's record as a test coach isn't great. He's overall overseen 19 tests that India have been playing under his time period, of which there have been 7 wins, 10 losses, and 2 games which were drawn. Now, the weird part is that of all those 10 losses, all of them pretty much have come against SENA nations, because you've lost 3 games. You lost to New Zealand, you lost 4 games to you lost games to Australia, you lost games to South Africa, you've even lost games to England. All of those losses have come against SENA nations. In fact, of the 7 wins that you have, 4 have come against relative weaklings, with 2 coming against Bangladesh and 2 coming against West Indies, both at home. Hardly an illustrious record, and which makes it not that surprising when you hear that there were rumors that the BCCI apparently approached VVS Laxman, who's currently the head of the BCCI Center of Excellence in Bengaluru, to take over the reins as the red ball head coach. And he was basically putting out feelers to see if he was interested. However, what we've also gotten to know is that Laxman said, no, I'm happy at the COE. In fact, that's what a BCCI source has been saying in media reports. This is what he had to say. Gambhir's advantage is that there aren't too many alternatives in tests, since VVS Laxman isn't interested in coaching the senior test team. Now, this is an interesting part, is that a prospective candidate was sounded out and he said he wasn't interested, which is why Gambhir, as of now, holds on to his job as India's all-format coach. Now, of course, this does also raise plenty of questions. For one, if they were that serious about replacing Gambhir, and basis his record, if you ask me, there should be, at least in red ball cricket, then why was only one alternative sounded out? I'm sure that there's no lack of coaching options in the country that is as cricket mad as India. And if you really thought it was a very emergency situation, you could have potentially looked for overseas candidates as well. I'm not saying that has to be part of it, but I've also not understood this tendency of flat out ignoring foreign coaches at all. In fact, India haven't had a foreign coach since Duncan Fletcher. You've not really had a foreign coach since. So, whilst I understand that there's normally been like a line of succession in recent times, but that line of succession was broken even for a Gambhir. Gambhir wasn't the NCA or COE head. He was the mentor of KKR. And if you felt that he was the best person for the job, you went out and aggressively sought him out. My point is, if they really wanted to replace him, would they have just been putting out light feelers to Laxman? What this tells you is that barring something drastic happening, this seems like it is in fact going to be a non-story. Gambhir will hold on to his head coach role across formats, but India are potentially also looking at not making it to the WTC final for the 2nd straight cycle running. India's chances are tough because you've got 3 series left, one of which is an away series, 2 of which are away series, one to Sri Lanka, one to New Zealand. The sole home series that you have is against Australia, who will present a tough challenge. Will that perhaps be enough to convince the BCCI that this experiment in tests isn't working? Maybe, maybe not, because at the end of the day, in today's day and age, bilaterals don't define your success as much as ICC trophies. But India seem unlikely to even get this ICC trophy. Despite that, As of now, there seems to be no major appetite, if you ask me, for sacking Gambhir. One that I find puzzling, but you guys can let us know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with this call to stay put with Gambhir in Test cricket despite his record. And don't forget, as always, to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon, follow us on social media as well. We're on Instagram, X, and Facebook. And stay tuned for more such updates from the world of sport.